In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Introibo oratorio Dei. Agitorium nostrum in nomine Domini. Confiteor omnipotenti beatum Maria semper Virgine beatum Michele Angelo beati Juan Baptiste Sanctis Apostolis Petro et Pablo et Sanctis et vobis fratres qui peccavi nimis cogitatione verbo et opere mea culpa ne maxima culpa ideo preco beatum Mariam semper Virgine beatum Michele Angelo beatum Juan Baptistam Sanctis Apostolis Petro et Pablo et Sanctis et vobis fratres orate pro mea Dominum Deum nostrum
Misereatur tuum, since Deus benedicit capatus, ut capere.
Amen. Misereatur vestri omnipotens Deus, de missis peccatis vestris, perucat vos et vitam aeternam. Indulgentiam absolutionem permissionem peccatorum nostrum, triburat nobis omnipotens et misericordias Dominus. Deus tu conversus vivificavis nos. Ostende nobis Domini misericordiam tuam. Domini exaudi orationem mea. Dominus vobiscum. Oremus. Christmas. Domine ne longe facies auxilium tuum ad me, ad defensionem meam aspice. Libera me de ore leonis, et a corinibus unicorum humilitatem meam. Deus meus respice in me, quare me de requisti. Longe a salute mea verba delectorum meorum. Domine, ne longe facies auxilium tuum ad me, ad defensionem meam aspice. Libera me de ores leonis et a cornibus unicorum humilitatem meam. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Christe eleison. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Dominus vobiscum. Oremus. Omnipotens sempiterne Deus, qui humano generi ad imitandum humilitatis exemplum, salvatorem nostrum carnem sumere, et crucem subire fecisti, concede propitius ut et patientiae ipsius haberi documenta. et resurrectionis consortia meriamur, per iundum Dominum nostrum Iesum Christum, qui tecum vivit et regnat in unitate Spiritus Sancti Deus, per omnia saecula saeculorum. Lectio Epistolae Beati Pauli Apostoli ad Philippenses. Brethren, your attitude must be Christ's attitude. He was of divine condition, yet he did not greedily cling to equality of status with God, but emptied himself, taking the condition of a slave, though being born in the likeness of men. He was known as a man, human in form, and in that state he humbled himself, obediently accepting even death, yes, death on a cross. Because of this, God in turn exalted him above all else and bestowed on him that name which is above every other name, whose dignity requires that at the mention of Jesus' name, every knee must bend throughout the heavens and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue proclaim, to the glory of God the Father, Jesus Christ is Lord. Tenuisti manum dexterum meam, et in voluntate tua dedudixti me, et cum gloria subsisti me. Quam bonus Israel Deus rectis corde, mei autem pene motis sunt peres, pene effusi sunt gressus mei, quia zelavi in peccatoribus pacem peccatorum videns. Deus meus respice in me, quale me requisti. Longia salute mea verba delectorum meorum. Deus meus clamabo per diem, nec exaudias in nocte, et non ad incipientiam mihi. Tu autem in sanctu habitas laus Israel. In te speraverunt patres nostri, speraverunt et liberasti eius. Ad te clamaverunt, et salvi facti sunt, in te speraverunt et non sunt confusi. Ego autem sum vermis et non homo, opprobrium hominum et abiectio plebis. Omnes qui videbant me, aspernabitur me, locuti sunt labiis et movererunt caput. Speravit in Domino, eripiat eum salvum faciat eum, quoniam vult eum. Ipsi verunt consideraverunt in acceptaverunt me, diviserunt sibi vestimentia dea et super vestem mea miserunt sortem. Libera me de ore leones et a corenibus unicorum humilitatem meam, qui timentis Dominum laudate eum universum semen Jacob, magnificate eum annunciabitur Domino generatio ventura, et annunciabunt celi justitiam eius, populo qui nascetur quem fecit Dominus. Passio Domini nostri Iesu Christi, secundum Matteum. At that time, Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane. Sit down, he said to his disciples, while I go over there and pray. But he took along Peter and Zebedee's 2 sons, and he began to experience sorrow and distress. Then he said to them, My heart is near breaking with sorrow. Remain here and stay awake with me. He advanced a little and fell prostrate in prayer. O my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass me by. Still let it be as you will, not as I will. When he returned to his disciples, he found them asleep. He said to Peter, So you could not stay awake with me even an hour? Stay awake and pray that you may not be subject to the trial. The spirit may be eager, but human nature is weak. Going back yet a second time, he began to pray, O my Father, if this cannot pass me by without my drinking it, may your will be done." Once again he found them asleep on his return, for they could not keep their eyes open. Again he left them, withdrew, and began to pray a third time, saying the same words once more. Finally he returned to his disciples and said to them, "Still asleep? Still enjoying your rest? See, the hour is upon us in which the Son of Man is handed over into the power of evil men. Get up, let us be on our way. Look, my betrayer is here." While he was still speaking, suddenly Judas, one of the 12, arrived, accompanied by a great crowd with swords and clubs, sent by the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now his betrayer had arranged to give them a signal, saying, "The man I shall kiss is the one. Arrest him." And immediately he went over to Jesus and said, "Good evening, Rabbi," and kissed him. But Jesus said to him, "Do what you are here for, my friend." At that moment they stepped forward, laid hands on Jesus, and arrested him. But suddenly one of those accompanying Jesus put his hand to the sword, drew it, and slashed at the high priest's slave, cutting off his ear. Then Jesus said to him, "Put your sword back where it belongs. Those who use the sword are all destroyed by the sword. Or do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father to put more than 12 legions of angels at my immediate service? But then how could the scriptures be fulfilled which state that it must happen this way?" In that same hour, Jesus said to the crowds, "You have come out to seize me, armed with swords and clubs, as if against a bandit. Daily I sat teaching in the temple precincts, yet you never arrested me. Still this has happened in order that the writings of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all the disciples deserted him and fled. Those who had arrested Jesus led him off to Caiaphas the high priest, where the scribes and elders were convened. Peter was following him at a distance as far as the high priest's palace. Going inside, he sat down with the temple police to see the outcome. The chief priests with the whole Sanhedrin were busy trying to obtain false testimony against Jesus so that they might put him to death. However, they discovered none, although many false witnesses took the stand, until 2 men finally came forward. They stated, "This man has declared I can destroy God's sanctuary and rebuild it in 3 days." The high priest rose to his feet and addressed him. "Have you no answer to what these men testify against you?" But Jesus remained silent. So the high priest said to him, "I order you to tell us under oath before the living God whether you are the Messiah, the Son of God." Jesus answered, "As you say. Still I tell you that very soon you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of the power and coming on the clouds of heaven." At this the high priest tore his robes. "He has blasphemed," he declared. "What further need do we have of witnesses? Remember, you have now heard the blasphemy. What is your opinion?" They replied, "He deserves death." Then they began to spit in his face and to hit him, and others slapped him, saying, "Play the prophet for us, O Messiah. Who is it that struck you?" Now Peter was sitting in the courtyard when one of the servant girls came over to him and said, "You too were with Jesus the Galilean." But he denied it in front of everybody. "I don't know what you are talking about." When he went out to the gate, another girl saw him and said to those nearby, "This man was with Jesus the Nazarene." Again he denied it with an oath. "I don't know the fellow." A little later, the bystanders came over to Peter and said, "Obviously you are also one of them. Why, even your accent gives you away." Then he began to curse and swear, "I don't even know the fellow." Just then a cock crowed, and Peter remembered the prediction Jesus had made. "Before the cock crows, you will 3 times disown me." He went outside and wept bitterly. At daybreak, all the chief priests and the elders of the people hatched a plot against Jesus to put him to death. So they bound him and led him away and handed him over to the governor, Pilate. Then Judas, who had handed him over, saw that he had been condemned and began to regret his action. He took the 30 pieces of silver back to the chief priests and elders, saying, "I did wrong to hand over an innocent man." But they retorted, "What's that to us? That's your responsibility." So he flung the money into the sanctuary and left. He went off and hanged himself. But the chief priests picked up the silver with the remark, "It is not right to deposit this in the temple treasury, since it is blood money." So after consultation, they used it to buy the potter's field as a cemetery for foreigners. That is why that field, even today, is called Blood Field. Then what was said through Jeremiah the prophet was fulfilled. They took the 30 pieces of silver, the value of a man with a price on his head, a price set by the Israelites, and they paid it out for the potter's field, just as the Lord had commanded me. Now Jesus was arraigned before the governor, who interrogated him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "As you say," Jesus answered. Yet when he was accused by the chief priests and elders, he made no reply. Then Pilate said to him, "Surely you hear how many charges they are bringing against you." Still he did not answer him on a single count, much to the governor's surprise. Now on the occasion of a festival, the governor was accustomed to release one prisoner whom the crowd would designate. At that time they had a notorious prisoner whose name was Barabbas. So since they were already assembled, Pilate said to them, "Which one do you wish me to release for you, Barabbas or Jesus, the so-called Messiah?" He knew, of course, that it was out of jealousy that they had handed him over. While he was still presiding on the bench, his wife sent him a message. "Do not interfere with that holy man. I had a dream about him today, which has greatly upset me." Meanwhile, the chief priests and elders convinced the crowds that they should ask for Barabbas and have Jesus put to death. So when the governor asked them, "Which one do you wish me to release for you?" they said, "Barabbas." Pilate said to them, "Then what am I to do with Jesus, the so-called Messiah?" "Have him crucified," they all cried. But he said, "Why? What crime has he committed?" They only shouted the louder, "Have him crucified." Pilate finally realized that he was making no impression, but that instead a riot was starting. Calling for water, he washed his hands in front of the crowd and declared, "I am innocent of this holy man's blood. It is your responsibility." Then the whole people said in reply, "Let his blood be on us and on our children." At that he released Barabbas to them, but after scourging Jesus, he handed him over to be crucified. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus in charge to the praetorium and collected the whole cohort around him. They stripped off his clothes and wrapped a scarlet military cloak about him. Weaving a crown of thorns, they fixed it on his head and stuck a reed in his right hand. They began to mock him by genuflecting before him and saying, "All hail, King of the Jews!" And they spat at him. They snatched the reed and kept striking him on the head. Then when they had finished mocking him, they stripped him of the cloak, dressed him in his own clothes, and led him off to crucifixion. Now as they were marching out, they met a Cyrenian named Simon. This man they pressed into service to carry the cross. Upon arriving at a place called Golgotha, a name which means skull place, they gave him a drink of wine flavored with gall, but on tasting it, he refused to drink it. When they had crucified him, they divided up his garments by rolling dice. Then they sat down there and kept watch over him. Above his head they had put a written notice of his offense. "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." Next, 2 bandits were crucified with him, one at the right and one at the left. People going by kept insulting him, wagging their heads and saying, "So you are going to destroy the sanctuary and rebuild it in 3 days. Now save yourself. Come down off that cross if you are God's son." The chief priests, the scribes, and the elders also joined in. "Other men he saved," they jeered. "Himself he cannot save, and he is the King of Israel. Let him come down off that cross and we'll put our faith in him. He relied on God. Let him deliver him now if he wants him. After all, he claimed, 'I am God's son.'" In the same way, the bandits who had been crucified with him also kept taunting him. From noon on, darkness fell upon the whole land, lasting until mid-afternoon. Then toward mid-afternoon, Jesus cried in a loud voice, "Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani?" That is, my God, why have you forsaken me?" So some of the bystanders who heard it remarked, "The fellow is invoking Eliah." And immediately one of their number ran off and got a sponge. He soaked it in sour wine, and sticking it on a reed, he tried to make him drink. But the rest said, "Leave him alone. Let's see whether Eliah comes to save him." Again, Jesus cried out in a loud voice and gave up his spirit. And suddenly the curtain in the sanctuary was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth quaked, boulders split, tombs opened, and many bodies of saints who had fallen asleep were raised. After his resurrection, they came forth from their tombs and entered the holy city, and appeared to many people. Now the centurion and his men, who were keeping watch over Jesus, were terror-stricken at the sight of the earthquake and these happenings. And they declared, "It is clear this was God's Son." There were present many women looking on from a distance. They had followed Jesus from Galilee to attend to his needs. Among them were Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. When it grew dark, a wealthy man from Arimathea arrived, whose name was Joseph. He too was one of Jesus' disciples and had gone to Pilate to request the body of Jesus. Pilate then issued an order for its release. So taking the body, Joseph wrapped it in fresh linen and laid it in his own new tomb, which had been cut out of rock. Then he rolled a huge stone across the entrance of the tomb and went away. Dominus vobiscum. Oremos. Improprium expectavit cor meum et miseriam, et sistuindi qui simul mecum consideratenor, et non fuit. Consolantem me quae sivi, et non inveni, et dederunt in escam meam fel, et in siti mea poteverunt mea ceto. Orate, fratres. Omnipotente. Amen. Concede quesumus tu, cum est tui statis manus imperator, gratia nobis devotionis et divina te referta, beata perpetua.
Per Domine nostro Gesù Cristo, Figlio tuo, che Dio, Spirito Sancti Deus.
Et omnia saecula saeculorum. Dominus vobiscum. Sorsum corde. Gratias agamus Domini Dei nostro. Veredignum et justum est ecum et salutari nos tibi semper dubique gratias agere. Domini Sancti Pater omnipotens aeterni Deus, qui salutem humani generis in ligno crucis constituisti, ut unde mors oriebator, inde vita resurgeret, et qui in ligno vincebat, in ligno quoque vinceretur per Christum Dominum nostrum, perque majestatem tuam laudant angeli adorant dominationis tremunt potestatis, celice lorem qui virtutis ac beata seraphim socia exultatione concelebrant, cum quibus et nostras voces ut emiti iubias deprecamur, supplici confessione dicentes, Sanctus, 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 Dominus Deus Sabaoth, plenis in caeli et terra gloria tua, Hosanna in excelsis, benedictus qui venit in nomine Domini, Hosanna in excelsis. Tegitur clementes Pater per Iesum Christum Filium Tuum Domine nostrum, sidus oramus ac petimus. Licet habeas benedictus, hec dona, hec munera, hec sancta sacrificii Pater, Deus quae tibi offermus provocatis tuis sancta catholica qualit, codix doctrina Pater, unicum famula tua Papa nostro Francisco, et his et nostro Luis, et omnibus orthodoxi sacri catholici et apostolici Dei Catholicus, Mento Domini falmon, quae tuano. In circumstantiam quam tibi fes quaetis non devotium quibus tibi affermas vel quid tibi offerentur sacrificium nobis passis suis quae vos redemptione manus vos besifundus miliatis tibi quae votus aeterni Dei cantus bellum miliatis primus glorious semicis Mariatus Dei Domini nostri Iesu Christi sedent beati Iosef Iustus Virginis Spansi Beatorum Apostolorum Eternium Tuorum Petri Pauli Andrei Jacobi, Ioannis, Thomi, Jacobi, Philippi, Ptolemy, Mattei, Simonis Tadei, Beni Cleti, Menti, Sixti, Corneli, Cipriani, Laurenti, Chrysovi, Ioannis Pauli, Cosme, Damiani, et omnium sanctorum tuorum, quorum meritis precipusque concedas, ut in omnibus redexionis tuim uniarum ad auxilio pilgrim Christum Dominum nostrum. Amen. Hanc igitur oblace, seraptitis nostrae, et contifum meitui, quis nos omnia peccatus accipias, disque nostris into abacis bonus amque ventana damnatione noseri, Trumactorum tuorum iubis credere numerari per Christum Dominum nostrum. Amen. Quam oblationem tu Deus in omnibus quaesimus benedictam ad scriptam ratum ration habemus adjectivum quae facelit igneris in nobis corpus et sanguis filii delicissimi filii tui Domini nostri Iesu Christi. Qui predie quam patere tuor accepi panem in sanctis et venerabilis manus suas, et elevatis oculis in caelum, et te Deum Patrum suum omnipotentem, tibi gratias agimus, benedixit, fregit, dedique discipulis suis dicens, accipite et manducate ex hoc omnes. Hoc est enim corpus mei. Simili modo post contrinatum es accipit et hum precalum calicem in sanctus ad venerabilis manus suas, item divi gratias agens, benedixit dedique discipulis suis dicens, accipite et vivite ex eo omnes. Hic est enim calix sanguinis mei, novi et aeterni testamenti, mysterium fidei, qui pro vobis et pro multis ebundetur in remissionem peccatorum. In quodies concupiscentitis a me memoria facietis.
Depomoris Dominus Servituris Servus Tuus Sancta, Christum Christi Vitui Dominus et Beata Pascus et Felice Resurrectionis Angels Glorious Ascensionis Angelus Hostium Pur, Hostium Sanctum, Hostium Immaculatum, Upon Sanctum Vita Aeterni, Collegium Salutis Perpetuae, Sepulchre Propitium et Serenum to Respicio Digniores, Euceptar Vex, Codio tu Babeli Dignos, Mercuri Tui Justia, Sacrificium Patriarch Nostri Abre, Quotibium Tulit, Sumus Sacerdos Tui Melchis Vega, Sanctum Sacrificium Immaculatum Hostium, Simplicius, Teraballus, Omnipotens Deus, Iuhi Perpeti Verbis, Sancti Trinitas, Omnipotentum, Cosmetic, Ministratum, et Quoquod, Ex ego Tois Mysterium Sanctificatui, Corpus, et Sanguinem Subservimus, Omnipotentia, Celesti, Gratias, Revelare, in Christendom Nostrum, Amen. Mento etiam Domine Pavon, alone, quae tuorum, in as presens servus, in fidei tuonis, in pacis. Ipsis Domine et omnibus qui in Christo quiescentibus lovum frigere et luce pacis mancheste proclamam in Christum Domine nostrum.
Nobis quoque peccatoribus.
Jesus, inspiratio tuorum spiratimus, autem aliquam satiatum et noi munis. Luis Sanctus Apostles, Magicus cum Johannes de Barnabas, Barnabas, et Hansio Sandra, Vasilina, Pedro Felicitatia, Pedro Abdo, Lucia, Abdier, Eugenia, Stasia, et omnibus sanctis tuus intra coram nos consortium non mathematicis et poesis non joviet. Per Christum Domine nostrum percum omnia Dominus in propone varias. Sanctificas, vivificas, and benedicis, et praestas nobis. Per ipsum, et cum ipso, et in ipsum, est divida Patri omnipotenti, in Aetate Spiritus Sancti, omnes honor et gloria.
Per omnia saecula saeculorum. Oremus precepti salutaribus moniti et divina institutione formati audemus dicere. Pater noster qui es in celi sanctificetur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimite nobis debita nostra sicut et nos dimitimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem. Amen.
Nos quesumus Domini et omnibus malis Victorious and Regenti Beati Gloisus and Virgins Dei Gentis Maria Condiatis Apostles to Pedro Paulo Arbe Andreas Longius Sanctis Sta Propitius Pacem Diebus Nostris Tobi Misericordia Tua Juventus et Peccatus Simis Virgin Pastor Misericordia. Per iundum Dominum nostrum, Jesum Christum, Filium Tuum, we take the vivit et regna, in Aetate Spiritus Sancti Deus,
Per omnia saecula saeculorum. Pax Domini sit semper vobiscum.
Christum, consecrate in Sanctis Dominus.
Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi, miserere nobis. Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi, miserere nobis. Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi, dona nobis pacem. Domine non sum dignus. Domine non sum dignus. Domine non sum dignus. Misereatur vestri omnipotens Deus, et de missis peccatis vestris producat vos et vitam aeternam. Indulgentiam absolutionem et remissionem peccatorum vestrorum, trugat vobis omnipotens et misericors Dominus. Ecce agnus Dei, ecce qui tollit peccata mundi. Domine non sendinus et intres subtectum meam setantum di verbut sanabitur anima mea. Domine non sendinus et intres subtectum meam setantum di verbut sanabitur anima mea. Domine non sendinus et intres subtectum meam setantum di verbut sanabitur anima mea. Corpus nostri Jesu Christi custodiam aeternam. 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 Pater, si non potest hic calix transire, nisi vivam illum, fiat voluntas tua. Dominus vobiscum. Oremus. Per huius Domine, operatione mysterii, et vitia nostra purgentur, et justa desideria compleantur, per Dominum nostrum Iesum Christum Filium Tuum, qui tecum vivit et regnat in unitate Spiritus Sancti Deus, per omnia saecula saeculorum. Dominus vobiscum. Ite missa est. Benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater et Filius et Spiritus Sanctus. Dominus vobiscum. Sequentia Sancti Evangelii secundum Matteum. In illo tempore, cum approbriquasit Iesus Hierusalemnis et venisset Bethphage ad montem Oliveti, tunc misi duos discipulos suos dicens eis, ite in castellum, quod contra vos est, et statim invenientes asinam alligatam, et pullum cum ea solvite, traducite mihi, et si quis vobis aliquid dixerit, dicite quia Dominus his opus habet, et confestim dimitet eus. Hoc autem totum factum est, ut ademplentetur quod dictum est per prophetam dicentem. Dicite Filii Sion, ecce rex tuus venit tibi mansuetis, sed in super asinum et pullum filium suigalis. Euntis autem discipuli fecurunt sicut preceptis illis Iesus, et exerunt asinum et pullum, et imposuerunt super eos vestimenta sua, et eam de super sedere fecerunt. Plurima autem turba stratverunt vestimenta sua in via, ali autem cedebant ramos de arboritus et stenerbant in via. Turbe autem quae precedebant, inque sequebantur clamabant dicentes, Hosanna filio David, benedictus qui venit in nomine Domini.